Well, that was entertaining and entirely disappointing in my new Streamlabs journey. Welcome, everybody. My name's Margaret Pinard. I'm a historical fiction author with a new book coming out this fall, November 30th, and you're on Booktube. So welcome. Yeah, I was here way early, and not until I hit the go live button did Streamlabs say, "You're out of your streaming privileges for the month." I think I've streamed twice. Um, so I had to go upgrade and pay for a monthly fee, and this is my next stage of experimenting with Streamlabs. So we'll see what I can do now that I've paid, because I'm sure there's more bells and whistles. But not quite yet. We have business to do today. We have a Wednesday wrap-up. And Jim is here. Hello, hello. Yeah, White Rabbit and Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, kind of cockamamie way to do things, if you ask me, but they didn't ask me, which is fine. So this is the Wednesday wrap-up. And just an update in case you didn't hear, I'm not doing every Wednesday streams now, just every other Wednesday for wrap-ups, because I like doing those every 2 weeks. That seems to be about my rhythm of having enough books to talk about, a handful, if you will. I've got 6 today, and they're all physical books, and some of the lowest ratings of the year, which is interesting that they came at the same time. 1, 2, yeah, 2 of them especially. So I just looked at my lowest rating of the year for a tag, I think. And so I know it was 2.75, and one of the books today is 2.5. So that's where we're getting off to a great start. And I wanted to share something fun that I got in the mail yesterday. It's a pretty book. So I was just going to ask for the people at home, what's the last pretty book you treated yourself to? Now, Jim's situation, I know he probably doesn't order many physical books, being in Georgia where the book market doesn't reach very easily. But if anyone else has pretty books that you've been charmed by recently, let me know, and I'll tell you about my little story to start off. Cat Paws here and says, here for some good suggestions to add to the ever-growing TBR. Yeah, low rating. So maybe you won't be adding them to the TBR, but it should be an interesting review. And yeah, reading these so you don't have to. There we go. I'm providing an essential service. But for the pretty book. So, write your answers in if you will like. But I happened to see a post on Facebook, and I only go on Facebook for work stuff. So it's really random that I saw a pre-order bonus. And because I want to do a pre-order bonus, maybe it caught my eye. It said, pre-order from one of these participating indies and receive a signed book plate and custom artwork postcard while supplies last. And they had 5 different independent bookstores in the Midwest. And they were participating in this promotion. And the thing is, it's from the author Stacy Savinsky, who I had never heard of. However, look at the book. I mean, it's gonna scream Margaret's bag. Okay, so we've got a graphic cover. It's a bit embroidery. It's a bit textured. It has tea room in the title. There's a Victorian house on the cover. There's witches involved. So I'm gonna read you the copy, just in case authors are watching and they're curious, what copy did I read and immediately go, I have to get this book because something made me act. And that's what we all want to be telling people. Copy that will move people's hearts. So, this is what we have. Ever since the untimely death of their parents, Anne, Beatrix, and Violet Quigley have made a business of threading together the stories that rest in the swirls of ginger, cloves, and cardamom that lie at the bottom of their customers' cups. Their days at the tea shop are filled with talk of butterflies and good fortune intertwined with the sound of cinnamon shortbread being snapped by laced fingers. Kind of interesting. That is until the Council of Witches comes calling with news that the city diviner has lost her powers, and the sisters suddenly find themselves being pulled in different directions. As Anne's magic begins to develop beyond that of her sisters, Beatrix's writing attracts the attention of a publisher, and Violet is enchanted by the song of the circus, and perhaps a mischievous trapeze artist threatening to sweep her off her feet. It seems a family curse that threatens to separate the sisters is taking effect. Da, 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 da. There's a little bit more, but I'll stop there. And so yeah, I just looked at the cover and I looked at that blurb and I was like, witchy tea room sisters. Yeah, I catnip. Catnip. So I pre-ordered it and I got the little artwork thing. So there's a signed book plate. So that's a cool little thing with like the folksy looking art there that someone did and put on a sticker. So cute. All the tea themed stuff. And then like a postcard kind of thing with the same artist work. I'm just like so impressed by people who get all that stuff together. So that was my little like happy package last night. So I figured I'd share that and see if anyone else treated themselves to a pretty book. Oh, I see Leslie here. I bet she has. Ben's here. Hello, hello. So new booktuber met, and I've stopped by a couple live streams. Very cool. Nice to see you. We haven't started on the wrap up of reviews yet, so you're in good time, my friend. My Mancunian friend. I think that's the adjective. Let's see. Jim says, I downloaded Wayward by Amelia Hart on Kindle. It has a pretty cover. No textures for the Kindle reader, though. Yeah, Wayward is, I think it's a similar type as well. It's kind of got the botanical graphic illustration look. I think it's a little bit denser than this one because it doesn't have a house. It's like more plant stuff. But plant witchery. I think fall's a great time to do plant witch stuff. It's great. Leslie just popped in. I love the title, The Crescent Tea Room. Crescent Moon Tea Room. Yeah. So I'm excited. I don't know if I'll get to that first, second, third. I've got a Patreon book to read. I've got a Victober book to read. I've got a interlibrary loan book to read. So I definitely have priorities before this, but I just loved getting it in the mail. Cat Paw says Moonflower Murders, but it was a few years ago. So that was apparently a very pretty book too. Very nice. Okay, I will stop talking about pretty books. Thank you guys for sharing. Sometimes you're just a sucker, you know? Okay, let's get into the into the books. I'm gonna go. What order am I gonna go in? We're gonna start with the bad ones first, so you can get them out of the way. And I say bad, and I mean that like I didn't really get a lot of joy and excitement out of reading them. They were fine. There was nothing atrocious in them. But like not my favorite. So this is a mixed bag. This is the last one. I just finished this last night. It's called Writers on Writing, Collected Essays from the New York Times, and it was published in 2001. So this is basically like articles from the New York Times by writers in the 1990s. That's right, the last century for all you youngins. And there were a lot of good essays in here, sort of various topics. Not like it had a theme. It was just writers writing about whatever they wanted to. A lot of famous names, but especially at the end, I was just skipping. I skipped like 3 or 4 because I was like, this is not even enjoyable. But I will say I really liked some of the ones in the beginning, and I'll just read a paragraph from the Louise Erdrich. So she's a pretty famous name, Native American author, literary as well as, I don't know, thriller, I guess you might call it, fiction. So there's just a paragraph to give you a taste of the good parts. This desire to deepen my alternate language puts me in an odd relationship to my first love, English. It is, after all, the language stuffed into my mother's ancestors' mouths. English is the reason she didn't speak her native language, and the reason I can barely limp along in mine. English is an all devouring language that has moved across North America like the fabulous plagues of locusts that darkened the sky and devoured even the handles of rakes and hoes. Yet the omnivorous nature of a colonial language is a writer's gift. Raised in the English language, I partake of a mongrel feast. I just wow, that really stopped me, that last phrase and that, like, the how she was describing it. Really cool. So, I have read one thing, I think, by Louise Erdrich, but not one of her longer novels that are all sort of related, so I really need to do that, and then I could just pass this on, see if anyone else wants to read some old New York Times essays. Um, moving along, we've got an oldie. Okay, one of the things I don't like about Streamlabs, besides the fact that they only tell you you need to pay to stream right before you go live, is that when I hit the chat from another tab, it collapses everything rather than just switching over to the chat. So I have to hit it twice and it changes the picture, which is kind of silly. That seems stupid. Um, Leslie says, same, too many books to read, but I do it to myself. Hey, not a problem over here. Jim says the physical book I'm reading for Victober, The Picture of Dorian Gray, has the dullest cover ever. Oh, yeah, yeah. I in Storygraph, I actually asked if I could upload a cover because they wouldn't let me replace the cover that is associated with the number for this book. This book right here. So this is the cover I have, which is not bad. It's a painting. It's vaguely indicative of the subject of the book, but the one on Storygraph is like the side of a architectural feature and it's just gold and like there's nothing. It's one of these um this book is a reproduction of a and they get the date wrong. It's like 1920 original because that's when it entered the public domain or something. I don't know. Anyway, it's a mess, and I would like it to have an actual cover. The book is the Oxford World Classics edition of Henry Mackenzie's The Man of Feeling, and it's a small book. So this is from 1771. And I talked a little bit about it on Sunday when I was talking about Victorian literature. This precedes Victorian literature, obviously, but in terms of wanting a background of sensibilities, literature conventions before and that sort of thing, I wanted to get some exposure. And so I found this at a bookstore in Bellingham, Washington on a little trip, which was fun. And it took me a while to read it. The convention I learned from the critic who wrote the foreword, the convention of early fiction in English was to pretend that you weren't writing fiction because it's a weird thing to do. So, people came up with various excuses. For example, I found this manuscript in a trunk, or I dictated this from a mysterious man who has disappeared, or etc. So this is like in snippets that sort of indicate it was a bunch of papers that someone found locked away. But it's not. It's just someone's apologia for writing fiction, which again is weird to the modern mind because I think modern folks generally admire the ability to craft a story out of your imagination. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's pretty cool. So anyway, back in the day when religion held sway, I feel like this was looked upon with suspicion, and so people invented reasons. So anyway, that's what accounts for the structure of the book. It's in snippets, it's in pieces, it's not in a full story narrative, but basically we get snapshots before they were snapshots. We get snapshots of a man living his life and basically he's very susceptible and in the fullest sense of the word. So whenever someone plays on his sympathies, he answers the call and he gives them money or he wants to help them and goes out of his way to do so. So I think in a different time they would call that like being a good Christian, but I think this 1770 setting is giving me more of like um oh, it's called The Man of Feeling. So I feel like it's trying to describe the ideal in that society, in that milieu, which is like a man of parts, you would say, in that time period or a little later, meaning someone who had integrity and had a character to look up to and admire. And so in this time period, I think this is what this is describing, someone who's very susceptible, who is generous, who is not cynical, right? Which is totally different from the modern mindset, which is interesting. Later critics, like 50 years later in the Victorian period, for example, look on someone like this main character and are like, obviously he's a fool. This is a comic novel, right? And that is so interesting. So the book and the character change throughout how he's perceived. But when he's written, I think it was definitely one way, and then it flip-flopped, and then it came back to, oh, well, with the distance of several hundred years, we can sort of be more objective and, learn more about the different ages and eras in literature, which is cool. So I'm glad I read it, but it was really, really boring. So lowest rating, 2.5, lowest rating for the year. But, if you wanted to try it, it's short. And if you have a 1771 book you need to read, I don't know. Done. All right. And then the last one that's on the bottom of the scale is like probably you guys won't be as surprised by. It's a romance. It's a romance I picked up called The Trouble with Scotland by Patience Griffin. And I will say it was written in 2016, I think, but it could have been written in the 80s or 90s, given the themes and dialogue and dynamics between the characters, if you know what I mean, in the book. So kind of disappointing. One of the other things I'm finding with books set in Scotland is that they have a very interesting relationship with geography. So they'll say, I took an hour and drove down here, or I went up to the coast. And I'm like, but that's the other side of the country. There's a mountain range. There's B roads. Like, that's hours and hours. Like, what? So I was getting really frustrated with both the antiquated relationship stuff as well as the, like, how well does she know Scotland? I don't know. The premise is that someone who is grieving, I think a parent, the brother and sister go on a quilting retreat because the brother thinks it's going to be good for the sister, and he's a handful. He is not my favorite character. So she goes and she's grieving, and she's also chronically ill. She has like kidney disease or something, and the way they treat that is also kind of strange. Very light and maybe good, but I can't really tell. So I'll leave that to someone else who has a better understanding. And then there's the actual love story, which has some good parts, like the meet cute I liked. But the whole like willfully misunderstanding and saying, no, I'm gonna find someone for you to get together with. Like, yeah, that's gonna solve both of our problems. It's just silly. So yeah. I think that was either a 2.5 or 2.75. So yeah, skip those. Skip those is my advice. Let's see. Oh boy. Oh no. Cat Paw is laying it down for Jim. Sorry to say, but I found the book, The Picture of Dorian Gray, pretty dull too. Ooh, we're getting to some frank opinions here. Emma Bennett is here. Lovely to see you, Emma. Emma has a book coming out in 1 week, I believe. I just saw her video. It's Scottish Christmas themed, which I am very excited to read because I know she will not be messing up with the geography. So yes, Emma Bennett, lovely writer. And we've got Maggie. Hello, lovelies. Nice to see you. Both here to swoop in and like and boop and all this stuff. So thank you. Appreciate it. Cat Paw says, I got A Tale of Two Cities and The Odd Women for Victober. Okay, so The Tale of Two Cities by Dickens, The Odd Women by George Gissing, but I have not started either yet. Are you working on another book or are you working on another project? I think I remember you saying you're working on a different project entirely. Jim can definitely recommend The Odd Women. He recommended it to me 2 years ago, and I still haven't gotten to it. He says, I read it as a read-along on Goodreads, led by Katie Lumsden of Books and Things in the COVID year of 2020. Nice. Beth Ann is here. Hello, hello. Woohoo, finally made it to live. Oh, man. Only to catch a disappointing read. Bummer. It's okay. I have 6 books to review, and 3 of them are crap, and 3 of them were great. And I think you might like at least one of the 3. Maybe 2, at least 1. And Emma says, love the cover. I don't know which one you're talking about. I hope it's not the one I dissed. Cat Paw says, for books set in Scotland, Stormy Petrel by Mary Stewart stole my heart. I love that book too. It's one of my reread, like comfort reads. So I get you, Cat Paw. It was one of the 10 novels I brought with me when I moved to Mexico. Wow, top 10. It's a good comfort read. I agree. Ben's Corner. I am overdue a trip north to Scotland. It's been a while. Think I will wait for winter to get out of the way again first, though. Yeah, it's a definite consideration when driving in the winter. I did not want to do it either. Okay, so that is the first half done. Don't worry about the bad books. Now I'm going to get into the good books. So I'm going to continue with romance. Grace Burrows, has my heart. This is, the cover is maybe embarrassing to read in public. This is, however, the first in a very long series. So it's called The Heir by Grace Burrows. And it's, your regular chunky mass market paperback. It first came out in 2010. So she started in 2010, not that long ago. And I think there's like 17 books, something like that in this series. So there's lots of dukes and, they have impossible connections and everyone's rich. But she does put in causes that they're working for and social realities of the time. And she makes some of her characters come from different backgrounds and have different issues. So I do appreciate that, even though, you're going to go with the tropey background of the genre, historical romance, which is, a rich person so that they can be happy ever after. That's the escapist part, right? So you're going to give people some information about what life used to be, how people may have tried to do something good. Not these guys, obviously. They're fictional. About it, and then let them have happy ever afters and help each other out, and it's pretty nice. I will say the most recent, the Never a Duke, is the first one I read by her, because I got it through Libro.fm, is still my favorite. And that's the inquiry agent, not any of the Duke folks. It's the inquiry agent that stole my heart. So, but I do like her love stories. I think she writes just really well. So Grace Burrows, and she's only on Facebook, unfortunately, so I can't really connect with her as an author, but very cool. Because Beth Ann is here, I'm going to go first to the one I think she'll like, in case she has to leave. That's this one, which I think someone else just said this is on their, Rachel just said this is on their TBR. Truth Witch, first in a big series by Susan Dennard. And I have to say, I like a Dennard because it sounds like Pinard. Maybe she's French Canadian too. So I had this book for a year or more. Got it from my local used bookstore, Backstory Books. And it's pretty hefty. It's like 420 pages. The series is Witchlands, and it's blurbed by SJM, aka Sarah J. Maas. So it surprised me to learn that this came out the same year, because obviously ACOTAR has gone ape shit and like super crazy popular. But when you start out as a debut author and you have like a cohort, kind of like your cohort on YouTube, you kind of keep track of each other and, you know, blurb each other's books and attend each other's things and sit on panels together. It's sort of how it ends up happening. And yeah, so her book came out at the same time, 2015. But it's from Tor Teen. So it's billed as YA. The characters are 18-ish. So yeah, I guess YA, new adult, but I would say that it's not dumbed down. It's not there's definitely a lot of complexity going on in the plot. There's definitely a lot of world building that you're learning and incorporating as you go. There's definitely like a depth of relationships. So I wouldn't say it's too young for an adult novel. So I don't know why. Maybe, yeah. I mean, ACOTAR was YA as well. So I don't know. Maybe it's just like that year things were wonky. I don't know. But I really enjoyed this. So Truth Witch is the first in a series where there is a world that had war for a long time, destroyed lots of lands, kind of looks like Europe, like France, Germany, Italy kind of area. And they have a truce that's been happening for 20 years, and it's about to expire. And so people are getting together to be diplomats, whatever. And our main characters are one gal who is sort of like rogue royalty. So she's, you know, a daughter of one of the ambassadors, and she doesn't really live up to it. She's lived a life as sort of a bandit, right? And we have her best friend. They're like joined by these powers that they have, and she is part of a outsider clan. I get the feeling it's kind of like a nomadic tribe in the Sahara. Like they wander and are not welcome inside towns, and so they have a settlement outside. She's got a different power, and like I said, they're connected through this, and like they have each other's backs, right? So it starts off with a really funny like accident that starts everything and propels the motion of the story, of like the danger. And I thought that was great. And then we've got the backstory of the families and the politics. And then we've got some men in the story that are introduced like in a really cool way. And then you learn about the magic. So I thought it did a really good job of dropping people in and helping you learn about how things function. The plot has some real zingers of twists, which I enjoyed a lot. There's lots of humor. There's lots of action. People are bleeding all over the place and like almost dying and all this kind of stuff. There's lots of gore at the end. So, you know, just fair warning. And yeah, really enjoyed it. The only thing is, I want to use this for my Herkyed challenge, but I feel like it's not finished, or maybe it doesn't have 3 or more. I'll have to look into it. I think there's a lot. I'm looking for a series that just has 4 and it's finished, and it's proving impossible to find. So anyway, it does set you up for the next book at the end, but it's satisfying on its own. It's not a cliffhanger. So I would definitely recommend this. Very good book. Truth Witch, Truthlands series. There we go. Oh no. So Beth Ann said, now the good books are coming just when I have to get back to work. Catch them on the replay. Oh, and because I said I'll start with her, she said, oh, wait, staying for a minute. That's so funny. I have one more book. And let's see. Truth Witches going straight on my TBR. Sounds like it might be my sort of book. Excellent. Beth is bleeding all over the place. Sure, sign me up. Does sound like a fun book. I'm reading one of the Tamora Pierce. I never know how to say that. Tamora Pierce middle grade quartets from my Her Kids series. That's a good bet. I was going to do So You Want to Be a Wizard, and I really like the first one, and that has 4, but the price jumped from $9 mass market paperback to $17 mass market paperback for the second in the series, and I'm like, I just feel like that's a bait and switch, and so I was just not comfortable with that. So I might get them from the library. We'll see. Just pre-ordered Emma's book for the October new release. Yay! Excellent. Scottish Christmas. What could be nicer? I haven't been in Scotland for Christmas, so I can't actually say, but it could happen. Could happen someday. Okay. Final book. Top tier. It's from the library. It is a read for Hispanic Heritage Month because that lasts until October 15th. Latine readathons, etc., what have you. It's by Raquel Vasquez Gilliland, so new author to me, and it's got plant witchery, which is great. Okay, so do I read you the blurb or do I read you my review? I'll read the blurb. I think you'll appreciate the blurb. Sage Flores has been running from her family and their gifts ever since her younger sister Sky died. 8 years later, Sage reluctantly returns to her hometown. Like slipping into an old, comforting sweater, Sage takes back her job at Cranberry Rose Company and uses her ability to communicate with plants to discover unusual heritage specimens. What should be a simple task is complicated by her partner in botany sleuthing, Tennessee Reyes. He broke her heart in high school and she never fully recovered. Working together is reminding her of all their past tender, genuine moments, and new feelings for this mature, sexy man are starting to take root in her heart. With rare plants to find, a dead sister who haunts her, and another sister whose anger fills the sky with lightning, Sage doesn't have time for romance, but being with 10 is like standing in the middle of a field on the cusp of a summer thunderstorm, supercharged and inevitable. That's not what made me pick it up, but that's a really good blurb too. Back cover copy. So let me go to my review parts on this. So when I was reading this, I thought, cool, witchy romance, like that's the season, that's perfect. Spooky season. Also Latine, so I'm getting like diverse viewpoints and backgrounds and culture knowledge in someone's sharing of that. Also romance, like love story, so that's good too. But when I was reading maybe the first 50 pages, I kept snagging on phrasing because I was expecting this to be like more like chick lit, where you're reading for the story and the action and the sly looks or whatever. And I kept finding these appositives, these phrases and commas that would make me go, oh, that's really pretty, or oh, that's like a double layered meaning. And I would almost skip over it because I wasn't expecting it. So let this be a reminder that maybe don't let your expectations run the show. I really enjoyed this book. Yeah, and I had an example. I mean, I didn't flag them when I went by, unfortunately. But I had found an example this morning, and okay, but I hesitate instead, and then he's gone for 10 years until, without rhyme or reason, he showed up at Cranberry's Piggly Wiggly 2 days ago. Until now, he's here staring at me with a look of wonder as Nate keeps chatting, not noticing the electric air crackling like burning cedar between us. And I use that as an example because it's got all the hallmarks of, like, oh, there's tension, but the extra elevation of air crackling between us to air crackling like burning cedar between us. It's a small thing, but like the themes of the knowledge in the book and the plant witchiness and her talent, and she just uses little places like that to weave it in to give the book a tenor that is much more unique than the average. And so I thought it was just really cool. Witch of Wild Things. Really, really good book. And it's late to the library because it was due yesterday, and I was like, I want to hold this for the wrap up. I don't want to use a stupid overlay because I didn't think I would be able to, but then I had to pay for the upgrade anyway. So it's a day late, but you know what? My library is the best. It doesn't do late fees. It stopped late fees, I think, the year after the pandemic. So I know someone's waiting for it, but they're just going to have to wait one more day, and I'll take it back today. So hopefully they'll be happy. But yeah, cannot recommend Witch of Wild Things enough. Yay! Last book sounds great too. Yeah. Depending on your mood, I'm not sure if you would love that one as much, but you very well may. Who knows? And Emma says, "Thank you, Beth Ann. It has a goat." I didn't know Scottish Christmases involved a goat, and I didn't know Beth Ann had a thing for goats. I know she has a thing for bees, but like, where am I missing a goat thing here? That's cool. That's cool. Emma says, our libraries don't do late fees anymore either. Yes. It's awesome. 2 for the TBR then. Excellent. Excellent. What, Ben, you're not going to go for the historical romance? Come on. Come on. I didn't want to ride another dog. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, other Laura Gomez. Hello, hello. Mine bloody does. I had to pay 12 pounds recently. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I did slightly lose a book. Well, okay, that's your own fault. If you lose a book, you still have to pay. I had a friend who just said she ruined one with coffee and then had to pay. So that's separate. That's not late fees. That's replacing a book, which I feel is fair. Yeah. Beth Ann says, it skipped up. Sorry. I do not have a particular thing for goats, but I kind of feel like goats are having a moment and everybody has a thing for them. So there's that. Really? Goats. I mean, I'm seeing mules and I'm seeing goats in the hurricane rescue work in Western North Carolina. And like several years ago, I saw the fainting goats have a moment, but I don't know about like a whole thing. Good to know. Good to know. And then Cat Paw says one for the TBR. She likes the sound of Witch of Wild Things. I think you would definitely like that one, Cat Paw. Definitely. I mean, goats make everything better. Do they though? Are we thinking about miniature goats and not like the regular size ornery ones that are real pushy? Because those are the ones that I remember from being at a stable and they were not that friendly. Just saying. They're very cute. I think you're thinking about the miniature ones. Just saying. Emma says, I used to knock fees off for my friends when I worked in the university library. Corruption in the ranks. Oh my gosh, Emma. Come work in my library, please. Oh my goodness. Oh, you just got serious about the goats. Just lots of videos of goats being cute. Also, they're good for vegetation management in various contexts. They're not solar. Oh, interesting. Yeah, vegetarian management would be a different industry, but vegetation management, I gotcha. Though not solar. Goats would not be good for solar. I wonder why that is. You don't have to go into that now. I know you have to go back to work. I'll get into it with you later someplace, because I'm curious about this. Emma says, no, they do not. Not when you don't realize they can't be house trained and have to remove one from every indoor scene. Wait, what? Did I miss a comment? Goats make everything better. No, they do not. Not when you don't realize they can't be house trained. Ah, gotcha. And have to remove one from every indoor scene. Oh, was that your editor, Emma Bennett, that alerted you to that fact? Or was that like one of your consistency post-its where you were like, gotta check this fact? Oh, not true. Gotta delete all those references. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. Emma's goat was cursed. Book, songs, and other magic. We've got a Gareth in the chat. Just logged in. Nice to see you. I started with the bad books and ended with the good books. So you maybe start halfway if you're going to get some recommendations. I mean, chaos is joy, says Ven. They would jump or climb on the solar panels? Seriously? I mean, they're usually at an angle, right? So they got at the bottom and then could, I mean, they're goats, I guess. I guess they can climb steep. I guess they can climb steep tilts, whatever the word is I'm looking for. Oh man, you're right. Eloise is here. Happy Wednesday. High five the like button. Much appreciated. That was me after writing the whole stupid thing with a goat following the kid everywhere they went. I mean, yeah, indoors would be difficult. They also poop everywhere. I mean, that's what she's saying. That's what she's saying. Yeah, they just like drop it like it's hot, just like horses. So yeah, I could see that would be oops. And we're saying hello. Excellent. Let's see. I've got a text where I'm gonna remind people. I got a pretty book today, and you can get a pretty book if you want to pre-order. How do you pre-order? You check out this link, which is my Patreon blog. If you follow as a free follower, you just get the updates first, just like people who pay. So it's like a sneaky fun thing I'm trying for this book release. I did the title reveal. I did the release date reveal. The next one is going to be the cover reveal, and I've just gotten the invoice for the cover, so that is in motion. It's pretty exciting. Yeah, so that will be happening, and I would love to have you follow there to hear what pre-order bonus I'm going to dream up, because this one was pretty dang cool. I'm not going to have cool art like this, but I mean, I could do something fun like that one. We'll see. It'll kick off in the next 2 months. That's the fun part. So that's us today, guys. Thank you so much for joining, coming in to say hello, and I hope you would like some of the books that I recommended, or, come at me with the ones that I poo-pooed. If you disagree, tell me in the comments. Yeah, goats will go wherever they want. But also, these days, most solar installations are tracking systems to track the sun angle, so they have periods of time when they're lying more or less flat. Not on the ground, though. I mean, they must be elevated. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Goats. Who knew? Oh, man. All right. Well, thank you for coming by to learn about the book reviews, and take care, everybody. Stay safe out there in this crazy world we have. And I hope you have good books around you to keep you company. Until the next time. Oh, what is the next time? The next time is Friday. So we've got another Good Fight Friday, which is when I'm hosting lovely authors who talk about social causes and progress in their fiction and why that's essential for reading fiction today. So this Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, I will have Joy Jordan Lake on, and she's written several books, and I have read one, and I'm in the process of reading another, and it's great. It's really, really good. She's a historical fiction writer, but she also has nonfiction. So I'm going to dive into some of these fun questions with her and continue the Good Fight Fridays. So hopefully I will see you there Friday evening or on the replay. And with that, thanks everybody. Talk to you soon.